major problems right there. Birmingham police working a crash near Elmwood Cemetery, MLK at Denison. A couple of cars involved with that. Wrapping up with emergency vehicles on the scene, and that disabled vehicle on Highway 280 at Brook Highland Parkway about to get that cleared as well. I'm Derek Scudder in the Fox 6 Traffic Center.
All right, thanks a lot, Derek. Now to the president's speech on health care. President Obama says there is agreement on much of the plan before the Senate. Last night, he urged action.
I understand how difficult this health care debate has been. I know that many in this country are deeply skeptical that government is looking out for them. I understand that the politically safe move would be to kick the can further down the road, to defer reform one more year, or one more election, or one more term. But that is not what this moment calls for. That's not what we came here to do.
Alabama's 4th District Congressman Robert Aderholt joins us by phone now in Washington. You were at that speech last night, Congressman. What are your thoughts?
Oh, good morning. Well, I think a lot of the things that the president was saying last night was some of the things he'd been saying before. I think last night people were tuning in to listen to the president to try to hear a new plan, not just a new speech. And I think really it was maybe a new speech and he brought out some issues that maybe have not been brought out before. But my understanding is still the H.R. 3200 that the House passed in the Commerce Committee right at the end of July is the same bill. So the only changes that he made was, of course, the malpractice issue that he brought up last night that would be possibly included in the legislation.
Okay, let's hit on a couple of points here in the time that we have with you, Congressman. One of the first things he hit on, got a big applause line from this, is talking about ending abusive practices, essentially, of insurance companies, in his words, mainly talking about folks being dropped for pre-existing conditions. There seems to be a lot of support among Democrats in the House and the Senate on this one particular issue. Do you have a problem with that?
No, and quite honestly, I think Republicans believe that insurance companies need to be held accountable, need to be fair about it. So certainly that is something I think last night on that issue, both Democrats and Republicans were very supportive of.
You also heard, Congressman, and you touched on it a moment ago, he included language dealing with lawsuit abuse, saw a lot of Republicans standing up on that particular line. That obviously satisfies you to hear that.
Well, most people have concluded that you can't really have reform in health care to try to cut down the costs unless you deal with the malpractice issue and tort reform. It
all boils down, though, however, for you, that public option that he touched on again. He didn't say it was required, but he did encourage it.
Well, he did, and of course he is still talking about that quite in depth, and that makes, of course, many people very nervous. And he talked about the fact that people could keep their insurance, of course, but the problem with a lot of the things like the public option is that it's going to put a lot of insurance companies out of business, and those options won't be there. And I think that's what needs to be made very clear.
Congressman Robert Aderholt, thank you very much for talking with us today.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
We look forward to hearing more about this debate. Now let's turn here in the studio to a pollster and Birmingham Southern political science professor, Natalie Davis. Natalie, you watched that speech last night. Let me touch on, you were listening to that interview.
Right.
Let me touch on, there were some raw emotions inside that chamber last night.
No question about it. I don't believe I've ever seen in a joint session speech like that someone get up and yell at the President of the United States. He apologized later, but that's what's going to be covered a lot today.
When you listen to the speech, it seemed like, and you heard the comment from Jeff Sessions, Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions overnight as well, that he said he felt like that Republicans were slighted in this, that they were ignored entirely, and it was more partisan. Did you see that in what you watched?
Yeah, I think it was partly, maybe mostly a partisan speech in the sense, I think he was trying to address some issues that are clearly at work inside the Democratic Party. I mean, the truth is, he has the votes if every Democrat votes the same way. But we know that the Democrats are split on a number of these issues. And so I think what he was trying to do was to get the Democratic base to some consensus level.
When you talk about the speech that he laid out last night, Doug Muzeta reporting from Washington a moment ago said it looked like in snap polls last night that were reported that there was some bump up, that people approved of what they heard last night. What changes in the days to come? What happens in the days to come with all of this when you try to work it through the Senate first?
Well, I think what I saw last night was a sense on the part of the President that he knows what's in the Baucus package, and perhaps the administration participated in Senator Baucus's Finance Committee deliberations. I think what he said to his base, as well as to everybody else, is we're going to wait on what Senator Baucus has to say here. The public option, which of course is a big ticket item in terms of the minds of people, he says it's not a big ticket item for the package as a whole. My guess is that won't be in the final bill, and Congressman Aderholt, who is in the House, and the only thing they know is the House version. It's the Senate that will be driving this thing. My guess is when all is said and done, there will either be no public option, or there might be what's called a trigger. 5 years from now, you know, is there is the competition that everyone hoped for actually going to transpire as a result of the package?
Yeah,
the whole issue of choice and competition and monopoly. The president